Howdy farmer. Today we are making the farmer's lunch, which is a omelet with roasted parsnips and baby arugula. We need to start the parsnips ahead of time because they take a lot longer than an arugula salad and an omelet will to cook. So we've already chopped all our ingredients, gotten everything kind of figured out. So we peeled the parsnips and made them all about the same size so they will cook evenly. And now we are going to add our olive oil. And our maple syrup. I have never had parsnips before, but I am excited to try them. The ones at the store looked a little rough, but I'm not sure if that's because that's just the way parsnips look or if it's because they're a little bit out of season. It is spring, but it is the beginning of spring, and so everything right now is last year's produce. We're just gonna mix the oil and the syrup onto the parsnips. And then it says kosher salt and ground pepper. So it says just a little bit. I want to put it on my hand so that I can control how much goes in. And then this, we will add freshly cracked pepper. And do another little mix. One tried to escape. But this is just tossing the baby arugula in the mixture that was used on the parsnips. And then we are going to put them on the pan to let them slightly wilt. Really careful because that is hot. And then put our parsnips down. I could probably have gone with a bit smaller of a pan. We're just going to make sure they're all sort of laid out flat so they can all roast at the same sort of level. Get off of there. Okay, so now once we do that, we're going to throw this in the oven for 35 to 40 minutes, stirring occasionally. I muted the next bit of footage because it was super loud and lasted a very long time. I did also speed up the footage so that we can get through it because beating these eggs took forever. We are just beating the egg whites into stiff peaks in our egg yolks with some whole milk until they're pale and frothy, but it just felt like it was eons of time. I did figure that now would be a good time to tell you some Farmer's Lunch facts, though. There's only one person who loves Farmer's Lunch as a gift, and I don't think it's surprising that it's Marnie. Other people like receiving it as a gift, though Krobus, Leo, and Willie dislike it, and Sebastian hates it. I wonder if it's because he's not a morning person, and honestly, I can relate to that. You can find this meal in Krobus' shop on Saturdays, or a stack of 5 in a Skull Cavern treasure room. I don't know why you can use these breakfast meals in tailoring, but if you use it on the spool spot on a sewing machine, you can make a shirt. It can also be used in dyeing and acts as orange dye for some reason. Fold them gently together. You want to do as little mixing as possible with stuff like this. You just spend a bunch of time putting a bunch of air in there. You don't want to make it fall. Cooking these omelets was a super interesting process. The mixture was not a texture I've worked with before in this way, and I could actually see the eggs rising as they cooked. Once the bottom was set, I put a lid on it to help the insides and top set a bit more. Then I added salt, pepper, and the cheese before putting the lid back on to help the cheese melt. I actually thought it was fun flipping the omelet in half, and they fit so prettily on my plates. The herbs were supposed to be in the omelet, but I did forget to put them in there, so I'm just putting them on top. Take a little. The omelet is like nicely fluffy and definitely really airy. I find arugula normally really bitter, but with the parsnips, it like really works. Let's rate this meal. As always, we rate on aroma, taste, texture, appearance, ease, and at the end of the video, I will give you an average overall rating, which will translate into where this recipe will sit on the tier list. Farmer's lunch is made by putting an omelet and a parsnip together, and that's basically what we have going on in this recipe. For aroma, this one wasn't anything spectacular. I wouldn't say that the smells were bad or anything. It just didn't make me feel hungry or excited to eat the dish. The parsnip smell was interesting, but it was mostly because I'd never eaten them before, so I wasn't sure what to expect. I'm gonna rate aroma 2 stars. Taste-wise, I'm really torn. My first few bites were good. I love the taste of the sweet parsnips with the slightly bitter arugula, and the omelet was really interesting. The more I ate, though, the less I liked it. I'm not really an omelet person, and this one had a cheese I had never tried before. It was a very strong tasting cheese that I thought paired well with the mellow flavor of eggs, but the more I ate it, the stronger it tasted, and I just found it really wasn't for me. The parsnips were interesting, and I would try them again, but I really didn't want to finish this meal. It was just okay, so I'm giving it a 2.5-star rating. Texture is kind of a tricky thing for me to rate for this recipe. The omelet was so fluffy and it was a really interesting texture to start. I thought I enjoyed it, but it became less fun to eat the more that I ate it. I fully blame my neurodivergence here, guys. I genuinely enjoy trying new things, but sometimes my brain doesn't like that I'm trying new things. So unfortunately, this was one of the bad times. The parsnips and arugula were a really good texture. I would give the texture for this recipe a 3. Appearance-wise, this looked awesome. It filmed beautifully. It photographed well. It wasn't all one color, which is my biggest pet peeve with food. It all looked super appetizing, and overall, it was a very attractive dish. I would give it 4 stars. For ease, I would say that this dish is beginner friendly. It did have a few things that you might not find in every kitchen, like a cast iron pan and a hand mixer, but the instructions were clear and it was easy to understand what needed to happen and what things were going to look like as we progressed through the recipe. I give that 4 stars. The overall average rating for this recipe is a 3.1, which puts it in the C tier. This wasn't my favorite recipe, and I honestly don't see myself trying it again, but I am glad that I did try it. I learned things like how I don't like Gruyere cheese and how I do like parsnips. I am happy that you guys watched this journey with me, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. Tell me in the comments if you like parsnips, and I will see you next week for another cooking video.